Have you ever wondered if your relationships, your name, or even the way you parent might be a part of a bigger spiritual plan? Well, today we're diving into something that honestly blew my mind: soul contracts. Yep, we're talking about the spiritual agreements we might have made before we even got here. I'm joined by the amazing Amelia Struthers, and we are unpacking all the juicy stuff: how your name can shape your soul path, why certain people show up in your life for a reason, even the hard ones, and how karma, talents, and free will all play a role into your growth. We're also getting into the power of birth charts and parenting, healing family dynamics, and how to show up more consciously in your relationships with your kids, your partner, and yourself. And this episode is brought to you by the How We Get Woo community. If you're into the spiritual stuff in a grounded, real life kind of way, then you're gonna want to be a part of this. We have live healing events, journal prompts, meditations, and actual connections with women who get it. The link's in the show notes. Welcome or welcome back to How We Get Through, where we heal, we expand, and we get through together. Welcome back to How We Get Through. Today's guest is Amelia Struthers. Welcome, Amelia.
Hey, so good to be here.
This is so good. Okay, so I found you on TikTok because you were talking about soul contracts, and I was like, what the hell is that? So I reached out to you to be on the podcast, and you were like, girl, let's read your chart first before we do a podcast. And I'm like, okay. And so we've had a session together, and it just feels so good to come back to you and your presence and really understand myself and my soul path. So I'm so excited to chat today.
I am too. I really love touching base again. I think it's important. So what a great opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so can we talk about first, like, what the hell is a soul contract?
Well, I can tell you what I know. So I learned this information through the Center for Conscious Ascension. And so this soul contract method came through in the 1980s. It was channeled by a man named Frank Alper. Blah, blah, blah. You can go to that website and really do a deep dive and learn all about it. And you can also learn a lot about it by using the book, Your Soul Contract Decoded. So the way that I describe this is based on common knowledge that maybe you designed a few things before you came in, right?
Yes.
Maybe there's a reason for this life. And what that journey is the spiritual signature. I call it the soul signature. So that is the agreement that you have. And I might have drawn this for you when I had your reading, but I draw a little truck with big wheels, right?
Yes.
And I say, so astrology and human design and that stuff, that's like the make and model. Like, I'm going to have red paint, and I'm going to have leather seats. I'm going to go around with this attitude. But what is the track you're on is that soul signature and that soul contract. So when you use the method that I use, the soul contract, you're actually looking at a picture of your soul contract. And it looks like numbers on the Star of David. But those numbers are pulled from your birth name. So that's what that soul contract is. It's the agreement you made when you came in, the karma to clear from your soul's past lives or from generational karma. And that's really, it shows you what your work is in this lifetime.
So you usually take the birth name, and what happens if they've changed their name, they've gotten married, or changed their first name? How do you read a contract then?
Change your name, change your life. That's what I like to say. So we always start with the birth certificate name, no matter what. Even if and this has happened, your name got changed 3 days later. We call that the cake. So it's the foundation. It's what you're hardwired for. And then when you change your name, you add on a different chart. It's called an overlay. So a lot of women change their names when they get married. So oftentimes I'll look at the birth certificate chart first and then bring in the common name and do a side by side to say, okay, this is like a layer of frosting on that cake. It's giving you some extra
Zhuzh.
information. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Love that word. Totally. And then another thing that can happen is you have that common name since you were born. Like I never got married. No, believe me. I'm on
You
number
married.
2.
Yeah.
I'm on number 2. Woo. So, so I have a common name from birth. And that has all these other, possibilities to it because I mean, I could get into it. But the other thing that happens is you can then have a married name. So there's another chart. And maybe then you get divorced and you put your name something else. Every time you change your name, you add this other little layer. But what really matters is what you're commonly being called all the time. So, for example, I had a nickname my family called me. And that has a chart of its own, but because it's not really used anymore, it's sort of dormant.
When you do that overlay, have you seen like significant, like, whoa, this is like a totally different like karma or path or soul? Like, do they ever like really contradict each other or do they complement?
Sure. Okay. Absolutely can contradict each other or complement. In fact, I'll get back to that. If you are having a challenging life and you're just like, oh, I've had enough. I'm so tired. Or in your heart, you said, this is not really my name. You can deliberately work with someone like me, a level 3 soul contract practitioner or a level 2 soul contract practitioner, and deliberately change your name. And we work through all these different names and choose the one that has just the right number vibration, the qualities that will help overlay and change some of that happens. So that's a deliberate way. If you have something that comes in and you change your name and you look at it. I just did this with a woman not too long ago, and her name was like Christine, but everybody calls her Chris. So we looked at both of those. I said, stop having people call you Chris. You got to use Christine, because there was a conflict with some of those vibrations not really helping out. So the answer is yes, it can go either way. It either
Got
helps
it. Yeah.
or causes some more friction.
So it's helpful to have like your birth name and then like for my birth name was Jennifer, but I go by Jen. And so to have that overlay,
Absolutely.
change everything.
Right. Well, the
Clear
no
my karma.
well, it
Nope.
no, because I think you're using Jen with your birth name, right? Or are you using a married name?
No,
Can't remember.
it's maiden name. I
Okay.
never changed it.
So this may sound a little confusing, but let me put it in as simple terms as I possibly can. The numbers all have a negative or a positive vibration. The negative is, and we tell which it is by where it lands in your chart. So when the numbers are in the karmic, there's 2 karmic positions. We're going to say like at the 3 o'clock and the 5 o'clock position of that Star of David, right? Those are the karmic areas. Those are negative, meant to turn positive. Your common name from birth, because it's your common name from birth, it's not an extra name you put on. It has some of that vibe, some of that zhuzh, the
I see.
karma, but you may have worked through it and then it only becomes a positive overlay. So basically the big headline is a really good practitioner is going to ask you questions and not make assumptions, and ask you questions like, oh, are you busy all the time? How busy are you all the time, Jennifer? How's your empowerment feeling? Uh, Speaking of
Not
your
great.
chart, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to test it out. And it
Yeah.
depends on what the other numbers are as well, because some are really powerful. Like your 9s, if you don't mind me speaking directly about
Yeah.
you,
Please. Please. Yeah.
9s are so powerful. But you also have this extremely powerful 10-1 in a talent position. Talents are like the superhero powers of yours. So that 10-1 is also overlaying the karmic
The
part for
9.
you. So
Mm.
it's really with your 12-3. So it's really it's this lovely fluid dance, and so the way I put it is this way. I believe in these numbers 100% and what they mean totally. But you know your life. So we have to put it together. So that's why it's my job. I'm telling the therapist.
Yeah. That's all right. We all need it.
It is my
I came
job
to you.
to be a good listener and not make assumptions and ask questions, and also know what questions will lead the person to become, through their own discovery, what makes sense. Because if I just brought you on and said, I'm going to tell you about your life. When you're 48, you can expect this. It's like, that doesn't, those are the charts that we get, and then we throw them in a drawer and forget about them. This chart, I want my clients to be working with continuously and seeing how there's fluidity in there.
Yes. And that was so true. I mean, let's talk more about the contract and what you can reveal from it, because I'd like to pull like similarities of what came up. So there's 6 different points, 7,
6 points, and then in the middle is
and then the
your
middle.
life path,
Okay.
your soul destiny. Yep.
Can we go through the 6 first and then the last one of what they mean?
Absolutely. The Star of David has lots of triangles, but what we talk about is the downward triangle and the upward triangle. The downward triangle is what we call the physical. Has everything to do with being human, ego, because you're having to learn to be human again. So that physical downward chart is going to be about your outer world, your personality, relationships, job, just the outer world. So the points that touches is like that 3 o'clock point, 6 o'clock, and we'll say 10 o'clock, something like that, right? The downward triangle. You can imagine that. And it has karma. So that's physical karma. It's what you came in with to heal. And it could be like what I would ask you. So when you were growing up, did you have any feeling of being disempowered? Were there strong male influences in your life?
No. And I felt like very unseen, very invisible.
So you couldn't express your power. You were ignored. Yeah. So that's another way of, I'm saying to the therapist again.
Yeah.
To dysregulate, who am I? What am I about? How can I, right? You weren't getting reflected back to you, a parent that said, you can do this. You are able to, oh, here's a challenge for you. I can't wait to see how you make your way through that.
Yeah.
Right?
None of that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then you had to heal that and ask, is there something wrong with me? Right?
Yeah.
And so that's that first triangle is the physical karma. So then down at the bottom, you have talents. And the talents are what I call, they are so wonderful that you just decided to have something come in that works so perfectly for you. You are so smart to have these come in. Yours are 11-2s, so you're really good with systems and perspective and wisdom and just like all of that in your world, right? People probably come to you to say, is this a true thing? Can I count on this? And you're like, absolutely or absolutely not. You're just like that, right? A weather vane. And look at what you do with this podcast. You're doing that for people. You're helping them find their way. But it's so positive that we pay no attention to it. It's just like blinking. How often did you think about blinking today, Jen?
Never.
No. But were you good at it?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The best.
I know. I believe it. So where that karma is where the healing happens. The talents is where, as you're doing that healing, your talents come more and more and more online. And we know, and I say to my clients, I want you to activate those. I want you to step into them. I want you to say every day. And in this course that I teach, the 6-week, 40 days soul contract deep dive, I say, I want you to make a statement about your talents, and I want you to say it every day. Pick a time every day when you're doing something else, because habits only 40% of our habits require full attention. So when you're walking the dog, make the statement. So Jen, you'd be like, I can figure these systems out and I am so wise, right? Just step into it and
Yeah.
really take that
I
in.
love that.
Yeah. So that's the talents. Now we're going over here to the goals. And as this talent is sort of pivoting you to heal, it's also pivoting you to like step into these things that you really want to do. And guess what? Holy moly, yours are 7-7. A goal, perhaps, to bring people together with information. Maybe, maybe people want to come to you and you say, oh, I know what your heart's feeling here. I have someone you
Yeah.
can see.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. And that's what I'm doing right now with How We Get Woo, the new community. Like that I just feel, and that's what I think the therapy app, when I first started, was a part of that. Like, I want you to go see this person. This person's amazing and specialized in this. And like this blew me away that because even I've experienced people on the podcast, just like you, come into my life and bring this beautiful, like, it's almost like holes in my like spirit body. And you just go boom and you fill a hole. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, just a beautiful receiving of different aspects of self that you get to kind of enter into. And there's a vast variety of ways to do that. And it's just been such a blessing. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a tangent, but
But no, and this is what I love. When my clients speak, I'm like, they're talking about their number and they don't even realize it. Because what you're talking about is the heart wound. And we talked about that. Sevens, they need a lot of very, very gentle, kind, loving healing.
don't make
And
me cry.
I know we did some crying.
I'll do cry again. Yeah.
Okay, we can do that because I also like to say when a 7 comes into my space, so many people say, I saw you in TikTok and I just knew it. It's like, yeah, your Ascended Masters are like nudging you to get the information. But I also know that with your 2s of seeing whether things are real, trustworthy, and your 7s with your heart wound needing, you can't be around the nasty. Mm-mm. That then I say, I am so honored you had on a cellular level a knowing that you'd be okay here. And so I take that with a lot of respect. And no fooling. Those 7s are just like, you can't see. So it's sort of like this. I'm out in the world with my mask, right? And then you go
Yeah.
home and go, oh, phew, I could take the mask off.
Yes. Yes. And I feel like that has sharpened the more and more that I attune to myself, where even if I like reach out to someone, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a great fit. And then I meet them and right away, I'm like, oh, no, this is,
No,
this
your
is, what
friend
can I
should,
do for them? Yeah. How can
no, you
I?
should be everybody's wingman if they're going out on a
Yeah.
date. Say,
Yes.
bring Jen, have her sitting at the bar, walk by and say, oh, I didn't know you're going to be here. Meet Joe. And you're like, if I take a shot, it means go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So that is to continue the big question you asked me. So that's the goal. So you have karma, talents, goals in the physical downward facing triangle. And so that's what gets you out of bed in the morning, that I want to go. I want to bring people together. I want them to learn the things. So this is all in the outer world, right? And then we have the upper triangle, which is the spiritual triangle, which really comes online between the ages of 35 and 42.
We're right there. Yep.
It goes knock, knock. Hi, are you listening? And the more you don't listen, the more chaotic your life could become. I'm not going to say it's an absolute, but it really is the time when we kind of bring that soul self out again. So we go over it again. We got karma down here in this side of the triangle. We got talents over on this side of the triangle and goals up here at the top. Except now we're talking about something more profound. It's not necessarily, the vibrations aren't so much outward. They're more about your very divine, sacred practices. So using you as a beautiful, obvious example. So you've got your 12-3 down here in your karma. And I like to say to my 12-3s, who love to share, very loving. So would you give your socks to a stranger on the street?
Yeah. Yes.
And this is where I say, not everybody would do that. That's the 12-3. And so since yours isn't karma, what we have to encourage you is ask you questions like, have you ever given too much? Have you ever gone too far? So that's your karma, right? That's where I say, I know the number, but you know your life. So I ask it this question and test it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I can hear someone saying right now, this is channeling through right here, right now. Someone says, but what if that doesn't happen to me? It's like, it's okay. I know the numbers well enough. I will find somehow for you to manage some part of it to resonate with, because come on, it's just there somewhere. So for you, that healing is around those boundaries and slowing down, doing what's right, not what's next. The 3 is the worthiness. It's like being a little librarian inside with these hidden feelings and just being able to have the confidence to come out. Again, like those 7s, very, very gentle, need to have such gentle lovingness around. But as you heal that and feel more confidence here in your throat to be able to speak who you truly are and feel your worthiness, then that switch is more positive. Again, both the physical and spiritual karma, where you're moving those out. And you have this 10-1 over here in your spiritual talents, ain't gonna let you be quiet forever. You're just too freaking powerful.
And that was so helpful, the 10-1. Can you speak about that? Because
Yeah, how was it helpful for you?
there was a phrase you said, which, I mean, we have free will with everything, but you were like, this is taking away that free will. Like, they are not going to sit and watch you not step into that or do this for other people, or like, it was just that I can't remember what you said, but it was so impactful of like permission in some way of like, you've been feeling this your whole life for this reason, keep going, was what I received. And I was like, oh, and it just gave me a little extra from the universe, the world of like,
Yeah. And you know what that is? Remember I talked to you about the car on the path? I like to tell people you've been channeling your soul signature your whole life. So for you to say, oomph, that gave me the power. It's like, well, of course, because you just stepped back into the channel,
alignment.
which is the flow of life. So that's what this chart shows you. It says, hey, you got free will to go anywhere you want. Try it out.
See how it goes.
See how it feels. And then come back and try it this way. You got a choice. And for you, it sounded like, oh, that made me get into the flow of life again. The 10-1, Archangel Michael, the number 1 is this crown chakra. It's like heaven is, you don't have to go really far to find heaven. It's like right there. And you bring unity and stability to people, which is nice for your 12-3 over here in your karma, because that can just be like, I want to do this. I want to learn this. I want to do that. I want to find out. It's like stability. It's the highest godlike vibrations in numerology, that 10-1. And Archangel Michael had the sword for heaven, like right over might. You're there to say, hey, we're going to do this in a holy way. Now, 10-1s have to work hard, though, to stay on the path. It's almost like that it's set up so it's like, shiny, hello, over here. Do you notice that you have to kind of work at coming back to a practice?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And even, again, you getting the reading was part of that, like coming back to it.
Yes, sure.
Like, hey, but don't forget, like, this is your path here. Because there's a lot of ego, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of, I mean, and also just distraction from it, from life.
Well, there it is. The distraction you input there on purpose.
Thanks, soul. Great job.
And that's your job as a 10-1 and even as a 12-3. I am here to get distracted so that I can commit again and again and again.
I do feel that feels very resonant of my life. And also I feel like it's a little bit of death and rebirth in some way that I enjoy. of like reinventing and like what needs to be sifted through and what is being born.
Well, now you're talking about your 11s,
Okay.
which you've
Look at
got
that.
2 of those. The statement for the 11 is death to life, which can mean with 2 11s in your chart, this would be an example where it'd say, tell me about um, relationships. Have you lost a lot of relationships in your life? Has there been a lot of changes in your life? Have
Is this the
things.
divorce number, Amelia's?
The 10-1 is.
Okay.
Yeah, the 10-1's the divorce
Check
number.
that one out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Why
But
is it the divorce number, 10-1?
it has to. Why is it? I'll have to go deep into my memory to remember exactly why. But there's the yin and yang balance with the 10. So if you have met somebody to balance your need for more of either yin or yang, right? And they bring that in, but then through your spiritual path, you claim that for yourself. You no longer
Oh,
need that mirror anymore. And you can
damn.
say, okay.
Yeah.
So
Cut
it's
it.
really important in relationships with your 3 in karma, working on relationships that but the more you become true and authentic with your worthiness, you're going to step into a relationship much better. Right? And those 7s as well, when you heal those heart wounds, it can't go in and say, oh no, I'm fine. I'll
Yeah.
marry you. Look I'm totally healthy.
Right.
We
Did
know how all
that.
that works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Check. Good. um, so the 10-1 is very much about balance. And I always like to hold up that Princess Diana had a couple of 10-1s. 10-1s are about service. They want to, if they're not in service, they're not happy. So your giving nature is really important. But she was an example of someone who was not balanced with that yin yang, right? She was looking for men to come in and really fulfill her because her power was being down, 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 down. So she was like, "Hmm." But then it's also the don't step on my dress number, I like to call it.
Uh-huh. Give me
Because
some room.
yeah, it is. It's like,
Yeah.
give me some room. Don't. So like for her, it's like, oh yeah, you're not going to let me talk about my depression and everything. I'm going to write a book and talk to the BBC. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
I love that. I even take that to a like physical level. Like when I'm dancing, I'm like, don't touch me. Like I'm dancing. Like I'm in my space. I'm in my zone, my body. So I just thought that was funny.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. All right. So that's the talent there. I'm just looking at my notes because there's a lot to know about this stuff.
there is.
Um, you need a routine to stay focused because it's so easy to get off your path. Learning compassion is important. Stability, unlock the powerful energies inside of you because if you don't, it's just like too.
Yes. And I think what you put together that again was so resonant was the karma of being disempowered coupled with the unworthiness and something else, the goals. So there was something that when I look at my childhood of like feeling invisible and unworthy, and I'm working through these relationships and how to set boundaries, how to speak my needs, how to do all these things. And really, I think in the later years, finding what like meeting myself at the depths of me and then seeing who can do that outside of me. But I still have that work of empowering and emboldening myself in my worthiness and in my emotions. That feels like when I say that, I'm like, oh, I've done a lot of work on that, but it feels like, ooh, like teetery still. Because it doesn't feel super clear and like
The
grounded.
7s have a lot of dreamland stuff to it, and it's almost, again, that avoidance thing, like, it's just so much,
Yes.
"How do I really take a look at this?" So it's easier just go, "No, everything's good, and I don't see no, I don't a little bit of that. And I am just taking a quick look at this. The 10 is the symbol of manifestation of spirit on the earth plane. Spirit moves. Yeah. And spirit is eternal and forever moving. So it's a forever coming back, learning again and again. It's not like you're going to sit and put your feet up. You're always going to be having to come back and reintroduce yourself to yourself and your power. It's but it's about work, hard work, 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 work. You have to work hard to achieve,
Like inner
especially,
work?
it could be, well, it's in your spiritual spot. So it's more like your inner work. Yeah.
Okay.
But if someone has a 10-1 in their physical chart, it's challenging because it's a spiritual vibration in a physical position. So those people can feel like misfits, like they don't ever really fit in because they're powerful and they're in this other plane. The 5/5s are the same way, multidimensional timeline jumpers, and it's in your
Yeah.
physical chart. It's just like, how do you make sense of the world, or how do other people
Yeah.
make sense of you?
Oh, that's so interesting. So if you're listening and you've ever felt like not a part of this, that'd be so interesting to get a soul contract read.
Yeah, there's a joke with us that we say, "Don't do it. Don't tell us. Don't try to guess what it is, because you can't." But there are some things that are just like eights are just eights and karma are just very, 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 to me, very obvious. And fives, I got fives, and actually on social media, fives and eights, any videos I do about those, I get tons of responses, and I think it's part of that misfit
I
kind of
see.
feeling.
And that's a 5 and 8 in any of the stars. Like that's in any
Well, no,
category?
the eights are much heavier, it's denser, it's harder in karma. It's
Okay.
hard to relate to the world, but you're really here to bring heaven on earth, which is a paradox because you're like, I want to get the heck
Right.
out of here.
Yes.
But no, you're supposed
Beam
to
me
be
back
here.
up.
That's exactly it. That's exactly the phrase people say. I came in and said, why can I go back? And it's like, because heaven is here
Yeah.
and you're here to help others. They can be with anybody. I often say I could put you in a coal mine and you get along with everybody, and then we could get on a plane and have high tea with King Charles and Queen Camilla, and you'd get along fine there too.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so
All right, so
interesting.
I just want to mix. I'm a teacher, right? I told you
Uh-huh.
this at the beginning.
Yeah.
So I just want to like
Close it.
pin your
Mhm.
original question. So we didn't do the talents, spiritual talents for you, 11-2 again. I mean, spiritual goals at the top. So again, it's the inner expression, that 11-2, the questioning, what's changing? Where's my resilience? The 2 is called foolishness to wisdom. And as a therapist, you know this, when you're working with your clients, you're helping them regulate before they make decisions. That's what the 2 is all about. Is the symbol is a spring. There's symbols for all these numbers. And if the spring is shaking like this and you're emotional and then you make it, yes, I'm going to buy that car.
Yeah.
Or, yes, I'm going to buy the puppy. Or, I'm going to have a baby. I mean,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Foolishness to wisdom. But if you slow down, do all those practices, all these number vibrations have recommendations for healing. So you bring the practice in, get quiet, and then the spring stops shaking. And this is for you and your goals. Slow the heck down. The spring stops. It becomes a solid unit now. You stand on top and you have perspective. And then your aura changes. People are drawn to you.
Yeah.
And they find, like it's called being the shock absorber for people's lives. So you've got that in your goals. And then in your physical goals, you have the 7-7, which is, I am magnetic. Come to me. Come to me.
Like the siren. Yeah.
Yeah. And the 11-2 is like, here, let me help you find the truth.
Yeah.
And the 10-1 is, let me be a spiritual teacher. Let me use all the spiritual knowledge I have and be disciplined. That 10 needs a lot of discipline and showing other people how to be disciplined. So, this goes great. So we talked about all the areas except the one in the middle. We'll get there. When you look at your karma, so that 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever you want to say, as those heal, which if you are an awakening person, you're healing them.
Mm.
You
Say
just
that
are.
again.
If you're an awakening person, you're healing your karma.
Okay.
And if you come to me for a reading, you are healing your karma because you were guided, and you're not going to be guided if you're not awake. Just
Right.
not. Or you won't realize you're being guided. So you find your golden gift of service in your karma as it moves towards the positive, towards that healing. You find out, like, this is what I'm here to do. And I always tell people in readings, I tell them this right away, to say, by the way, so your gift of service is to learn, and with such a loving heart, and just to share and give so much so that you empower others. How does that sound for you?
I
Does that
wanna
sound
cry. Yes.
so at work?
You know, it's so interesting because, in order to do that, I have to do that for myself.
Oh, yeah, the healing work, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's that idea of, like, always being the teacher and the student, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
And I think there's something very, like, there's no hierarchy a little bit in that because it keeps
Oh, yeah.
shifting.
Right, and through our healing, we find the compassion for others. I had some real dark times in my life, right? And all through it, I was saying, I'm learning something here because I was too awake not to pay attention. I said, okay, there's something I'm learning here. And now, because of those experiences, I say, I have so much compassion for other people. I can't fault them. I don't have to agree with them. I don't even have to forgive them if I don't want to. But I do just can't help but feel compassion. Mm. All right, let's talk
Love
about
it.
the middle part. You have 6/6. Creative. Don't even have to think about it. Ideas just creative ideas just right.
Yes. Yes. That's so interesting because some of it I feel like matches up with astrology and a
Oh, it
little
definitely
bit
does. Yeah.
with,
Mhm.
the Enneagram.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it makes sense, right? Because it's all vibrational. So I'm not saying anything, please, I'm not saying anything against any tool. And you're going to align with it. It's just yeah, I've already
I think
said
they're
it,
all
but
pieces, yeah, like
yeah.
the
Mhm.
but I just think the
Valuable.
more that you explore these things, how you can't ignore how much they all come back to the same shit of who you
Right.
are.
And I was taught with this, I can't help myself. I'm a teacher. I want to bring people over the line. That's why I have a mini course about how to take a deep dive and bring this as a daily practice into your life. 40 days. It takes 40 days to change a habit. So that's what this is, 40 days.
I love it.
But I was taught you can bring the people to the information, and then it's up to them to be sparked to do the healing work. But I'm never satisfied with that. That's why I said,
You will do it.
come, come learn how to bring this into your life. So your 6/6 is in the middle, and yes, absolutely aligns. And anytime you're inspired to learn more about yourself and do better work in the world, who doesn't love that? Um, so the soul destiny, I like to say, is like an inner and an outer experience because we know what we're here for. We feel it, but for some reason, we also kind of want to see it outside of ourselves too, right? We kind of want to reconcile something with a destiny. A destiny is something you're reaching towards, something you want to reconcile with and come back and come into contact with, even though it's here. It's like the Dorothy thing. You don't have to look beyond your own backyard. So it does start out with some karmic aspects, like the goals are karmic and positive, negative and positive. So you are working towards it to fully manifest it. Not everybody is here to fully manifest their soul destiny that is described in the soul contract, and that's okay.
Why is that?
I think it's because the soul destiny is a process.
Oh,
And
like, not
because
every lifetime you're gonna be able to work through your
yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah, you get done what you needed to get done. Hopefully don't make
Yeah.
new
More
karma.
stuff?
Yeah. So, um I usually draw a lighthouse with like a circular thing because w- it's this circular stepping
Staircase.
yeah, getting more and more. That's what it is. It isn't, ta-da, I'm the king of the mountain. It's more like, okay, going through, learning. And the big payoff I always show my clients is you get there, your soul destiny, by healing the karma, activating the talents, and working towards your goals. Do all
Beautiful.
that, and then you're moving. So let me read you your soul destiny again.
Okay.
It's a good one. Ready? Yeah. To become the vessel for the creative force of God to manifest.
Why are you making me cry again?
It's my job. It's what I was made for.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
What does that mean for you?
It's first of all, there's power in it, but then I think it makes me feel special.
Yeah. I love that.
And like I think that's so helpful for me in my worthiness.
Yes. Look at you
Yeah.
making connections.
Like I need to feel special. I don't need to, but when that comes in like the 10-1, I'm like, I am worthy of this.
Then, yeah. And the nine is so powerful. The nine is the most powerful vibration of all the numbers, okay? It wants to help the underdog. It wants to be a peacemaker. Yeah, you feel that?
Yeah, which I'm a 9 on the Enneagram, which is a peacemaker.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like you have a direct phone. I'm an old lady, so I still do phones
Yes,
like this.
so do I.
Yeah. So you have a direct phone line with heaven.
Mm.
And what your role is with the karma is to accept your channel. And to do that, you got to feel special, right? You got to feel like, hey, look, I've got heaven on the line. That's pretty special. So accepting that it's special is part of accepting that you have that power. And as with your threes unworthiness, I mean, look at how beautifully that's set up, right?
Yes, like it's all working together,
Yeah.
which is fucking crazy.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting, even I'm like, oh, wait, was it okay that I said I'm special? So here's the unworthiness coming through, filtering
Exactly.
back. And like,
Distraction.
can I say that on this podcast when other people are, I mean, and then everyone's special, which I really believe everyone has their specialness.
I love what Ram Dass says. We are not special. We are unique.
That's very true.
So by saying we're all special is that big, huge, big L love. Oh, we are a part of the spark of the same fire. But your spark's going to go like this, and mine's going to go like this. And that's what makes us unique. So yeah, you are special and you're unique. And the more you accept and say that, you're not going to do any harm with it because your 10-1 is in talents. Instead, you're going to use that as a spiritual teaching tool.
Mhm. But that's where I think the work is for me, is that does that tip me up in the power, in the ego selfishness? Because, I'm not saying it does, but I'm saying that's where that 9 comes in of like, well, don't think you're too special. Don't think you're too unique. Like, who are you? What have you done with this power before?
Where have you heard that voice before in your life?
I don't know. I feel like it's more the absence of someone saying, "You
That's
can
what I
take
mean.
up space,"
That's what I'm
you
saying.
know?
Because I hear that as a resonant to what you said earlier about being
Yes.
invisible. And even if they didn't say it overtly, their silence was saying, don't be special, Jen.
Yeah. Just be nothing.
Bland old Jen, there she is. When all along you're like, baby, you're a
Yes.
firework.
Yes, I'm triple fire in astrology.
Yeah,
I'm
you
just
are.
burning shit. Burning
Burn
shit
it.
up.
Burn it. Yeah, I want you to because you're a peacemaker. So just remember this in this lifetime, if you're trying to think, well, I can't misuse. So I think I talked to you about this in your reading. The 9 has heavy duty karma of misusing power, right? So of course you come in, you're like, ooh, I know what power feels like. I know it's really bad. So you feel undeserving of the power, right? Is that a word that makes sense for you?
Yes.
Undeserving?
This ding, 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 all of that. Yep.
That's that 9 in karma, is that undeserving feeling. And what you're going to come to, because you're a peacemaker, now I'm going to start to cry. This is channeling through right here. You're not ever going to hurt anybody, honey. you're incapable of hurting anybody because this time you made a promise to do it differently.
I'm crying. That's why I'm silent.
I
If
am
you're
too.
listening.
Do you need me to take over?
Oh, God.
Mhm.
Oh,
Oh,
my God. I know.
nicely done.
Mhm.
Nicely done. It's such a risk for you to open your heart up that deeply. It's to be that vulnerable. So I celebrate that wisdom for you that it was okay to go there.
Thank you. And you too. And I think the tears, honestly, in my life are always like that resonant piece where I'm like, this is hitting, let it come. Like,
Oh, yeah. You got to,
be with it.
as a therapist, you got to feel it to heal it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of recommendations. These are all in the book. Your soul contract decoded, as I said. Recommendations for these for this numbers. So that empowerment, the anger for the nines,
Oh, yeah. So much anger.
worthiness. Yeah,
Yeah.
moving that through. But then there's ways to also get help with that. There's a method called divine healing, and there are practitioners who I recommend that are my colleagues that do this work. It is not about talking. It's about
Great.
going into it, affirmations, moving things, working with your ascended masters and angels to move the vibrations because sometimes it's a heavy lift and you can't just do it on your own. So divine healers often have also taken the soul contract um, trainings as well. So they can look at your chart and go, oh, look at those nines there. Let's see, and go through all these different, oh, there's a word for it. Um, there's things
Is it like
that
energy
yeah, it is.
ish?
It's connecting you with the what is in the body that's being held karmically right down the mitochondria, right? And then using affirmations of sort, but they're more statements. It's like, I command that this is over now. Boom.
Oof.
And it's using the force of the universe, ascended masters, angels, guides, and it's channeled information. These practitioners are incredible. They can pick which area. They're all different areas, many, many different layer and levels. There's different levels of divine healing, light body work. So what I'm saying is we don't leave you hanging, right? There's a lot of supportive work to do along with that. And that's when you have a reading with me, that's what I do is I recommend people to that. And you can also find some practitioners who offer webinars on these so you can test it out. You can look this up on the Center for Conscious Ascension. Um, and then in my course that this 40-day like deep dive, I bring in a divine healer to work with all my students. So
Yes. Oh, I love that. Mm. Okay. Can we quickly shift a little bit to kids and partners and how you work with that?
mhm, absolutely. I think you and I had a great conversation about that. So my background is in early education. So I have a whole lot of that knowledge, but then you bring this in, it's like, oh, yes, spiritual parenting, which I did very much with my daughter. Um, and it made a big difference.
Mhm.
So
Who's a therapist, right?
she's a
She's a
therapist.
therapist.
She is. And I was just talking to her today. She was working with a young child. I said, you were channeling right there. She said, yeah, I know.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Wow.
you're gonna have to talk with both of us sometime.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So the way I would work with a parent is I would ask for your birth chart and the names of your children and we call this I call it a relationship chart. So I can take up to like 5 names and it could be your spouse or your ex-spouse,
Your mother.
parents. Absolutely. You want to look at those parents and the children's names. And then we look at them side by side. And then I can say where there's harmony and where there's discord. And isn't that lovely to know if you have a child with sevens, for example, heart wound, you're going to parent that child a little bit differently. Or what if they have 9 in a karmic position? You're going to help them find the peace within them and find the way to empower themselves. So that's very rich information to have if you want to do conscious parenting. And then spouse, it's great. I remember my teacher looked at my husband. And I was in a training. He looked at our charts. He said, he must give you so much love because he's got sevens in a talent position. And it just made me go, oh my gosh. Yeah, it
Oh,
does. Because I was having the worthy thing of being able to accept love
yeah.
and being able to see it as love, right? And then it just came right in. So that's how I work with spouses. And then for my daughter's father, it was beautiful. Again, my teacher, again, when you work with a practitioner, it's different than just reading it yourself, which is a great start, certainly how I got started. But he said, oh, he was a divine asshole. And I went, oh, yes. And I went like this. And I said, thank you. If you hadn't been that way, I wouldn't have woken up even more. And then the compassion came through and most of the forgiveness, yes, too.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? The forgiveness comes through. But I was able to go, I understand the role this person had in my life. It wasn't just chaos. It was a role. It was a relationship. And it helped me bump up to a more profound, higher level of seeing things, which was very helpful for me.
Yes.
And helpful for my daughter. I mean, you don't want your kids feeling your animosity. You don't.
Right. Right.
You don't. So if I can put it into perspective, it's like, okay, yeah. So when we get together, because we're still a family, we're going to still get together for certain events. I'm not energetically projecting anything anymore.
Yeah. To the divine
What
asshole.
a gift. Sorry, honey, if you're watching this podcast,
Oh.
but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. Yes. But even just, when you can kind of reflect of like, that had to be so painful in that way for me to shift. I mean, and you could have chosen not to shift either, right? But you see the purpose of it when you can look back and be like, in gratitude.
Yeah. In gratitude, that was the word. And it became healing instead of destructive.
Yeah. It's like a catalyst.
Yeah, what a different way to live.
Okay, you said something interesting about C-section babies.
I did.
Can you repeat that?
Mm-hmm. So when a child is born through C-section, it's sort of like taking a leap away from having to work through the parents' or the mother's karma. It's
Oh, only
basically,
the mothers.
I'm going to say the parents' karma.
Okay.
The parents' karma. You're just basically saying, I don't need to do that work. Mom, dad, you do that work.
Oh, maybe not they don't have it. Like mom and dad will do that work, but they're not, their soul isn't taking it on. They're not signing
like they
up
don't have
for
to
that.
process it. Like what I notice a lot, the more of the work that I do, I notice in my daughter, it's like, oh, she's not getting hooked the same way.
She's
same
C-section?
form. No.
Okay.
No. She was a painless birth because
Oh, yeah.
I'm
You transcended.
I did. I totally did. That's going to be our next podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, so yes, if it's a vaginal birth, natural birth, then they take on the karma, the generational karma. And so if it's a C-section, then it's like, no. And my best friend, when I learned this and I shared this with her and her oldest child, oh, that makes so much sense. She's just like burning through in such a different way. You're like, is this your kid? Or she'll look at the stuff that my friend is dealing with and she'll be like, Mom, just get over it. In a much different way. And mine was all about the mother wound. And I clearly decided to not raise my child the way I was raised. I was raised beautifully, lovely family, lovely parents, but still trauma. You're a therapist.
Yes.
And I remember growing up, my mother would look at me and go, fakey smile. And I was like this, right? It was just like, And then when my daughter was little, someone said, wow, look at how amazing she is. I said, and I felt it. And I just said, oh, hell no. Hell no. And then I was able to say, when people said, wow, what a great kid, I would say, yes, she's amazing. And I could feel my heart lightening. I could feel the pain of my childhood just lightening. And this is how healing works. in my experience. My father, loved him, had a great, a good relationship, but he had complicated relationship with my sisters. He was dying. He was at home. It was 6 weeks in bed. And at one point he looked at me and he said, "You are so beautiful." And now I realize, oh, he was transcending. It was enlightenment. And in that one phrase, it healed everything, right? Healed everything. And the same thing happened with me saying, "Oh, my daughter is great." Suddenly, all that fakey small stuff, it was like, was gone. So now Maya doesn't have to heal that wound because I healed it.
And I think you're speaking to everybody that's listening to this podcast that knows there's something better and they want to raise their kids better. I mean, all the millennials anyway, they're like,
I know.
how do we do this differently? And I think again, like my children are my greatest teachers that show me and mirror really painful things that I'm like, okay, how do I deal with this differently? Because I don't want this to be yours, but I also can't manage if it is, or you pick it up a certain way, or it becomes something for you, right? It's just that I'll be able to validate and hold space for that and repair what I need to repair. Like that worthiness and that scene for me is the biggest thing for me and my kids.
And when you can just love them
Yeah.
and celebrate them, it's just going to brighten you up so much.
And even to be present sometimes, which I've noticed in the last couple months, like just looking in their eyes and like looking at how, like sometimes my daughter and I can get in it a lot. And so I've been trying to shift that more of like how beautiful she is, like as a person, and just really observing her and smiling at her, like, yes, because I think I've, especially in these, I mean, she's going to be 7, but I could see a lot of dark times with her where I'm just like, I've got a mean face. Like if I'm pissed, you'll fucking see it. And so like really trying to repair even that with some moments of like, I see how wonderful you are.
Now, I again say, look, you're talking your soul contract. I want to see yours and hers next to each other. For example, my daughter and I both have 9s in physical goals. And when I started to get really deep into this method, I could see how through my own conscious parenting, just what I know about child development and parenting, how I was already adjusting. But now with this information, I was able to adjust even more to say, okay, we're going to butt heads with power.
Right.
But
I mean,
I
that's
don't
us.
I don't have to be attached to it. And again and again and again through her life, I've just been like, okay. And now I realize how important that is because it's giving her the experience of being in her power and it being safe. She knows she can go there with her mom. Now, are there times I have to go, no. Yeah. And we do have conflicts, emotional conflicts, but the thing that she always knows
Mm.
is that we're always okay, even if there's a rift. We're always okay. And part of that came through as I was a single mom. I would lose it. I'd just be like,
Yeah.
because I was a single mom. It was hard. I
Yeah.
had 5 jobs. And I would like, stomp away. And then within 30 seconds, I'd come out and go, okay, I'm sorry. That was totally me, not you.
Yes.
And she says that as a therapist now. She says that. She goes like, yeah, my mom would freak out, but it was okay. It didn't affect me because she would always come back and apologize. Now, it turns out that I have a 20-2 in my chart. We get over things really, really fast. And I used to say, how come people, they hold on to things? And now I realize, oh, it's just a part of my abilities to be able to do that. So now I can be patient with my husband when he doesn't get over things right away,
Yeah.
or my daughter. See how this works? It comes in, and then if you want to use this as a tool for your entire life, for all your relationships, it's powerful.
Mhm. Yes. And it has been really powerful in my life. And I bet you we have that power dynamic somewhere because I know that that is what I'm living. and how to really see her in her power and but not be disempowered. That's what's getting triggered for me is I feel disempowered in when I'm in spaces with her because she's craving the power. And I'm like, "Oh, fuck no. You don't get to blah, 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 blah." That's
Well, no, and
internally.
you do need to this is the thing
Yes.
that I see when parents aren't setting boundaries
Yeah.
with their kids, it makes me ooh. But I think I talked to you about this. There's a developmental theorist named Sambhava Lovemore who did something called natural learning rhythms. And they described that 7 to 10-year age as emotional being. So she's going to be moving into the emotional being. And you need to just be so understanding how suddenly their skin is totally thin. One of the things they suddenly realize is they're mortal and death becomes like a whole thing. Um, and also being understanding rules and saying, no, you've got to do it this way. No, this is the right way to do it. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens with her power when she kind of becomes a little bit more vulnerable.
Yeah. And I can see her shifting into that, which we've kind of talked about death all the time, but we are, at this stage when we're recording this, I'm moving out and we're going to be, doing time 2 days. Well, it's her whole life's going to be shifting. So perfect time for her to step in the emotional
Yeah.
world.
And remember, she's got her own soul signature.
She signed up for this.
She signed up for something, but you can be conscious about it and
Yeah.
aware about it and what is it? Leave as little harm as possible. Leave nothing behind as possible. But we're gonna mess up. We're gonna screw up. And I call Maya sometimes. I go, "Oh, honey, I'm just remembering a time." She said, "Mom, I don't remember any of it. It's fine."
Okay, please don't go there.
You. Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
I would never say I was a perfect parent. I'd just say I was a very conscious parent.
Yeah.
That's
Which means you're conscious of self in
Mhm.
order to be different in relationships,
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I can't get away with it. That's the other thing that Maya and I have in common. I wonder if this is a 9 thing. You can confirm this for me. I can't get away, like somebody can get away with being in a restaurant going, "This sucks," and like walking out or saying to their boss, "I don't think blah, 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 blah," right? They can get and everyone's like, "Ooh, I'll listen to you." Ooh. If I try to do anything like that, it's like,
No,
"Lady,
no, no,
sit
no, no.
down."
Yeah.
I can't get away with anything. And I just
Oh
think
my
that's
gosh.
heaven's way of saying, "Come on, you're
Yeah.
more aware. Do better."
I feel that dynamic between her and her father, like, he can get away with anything, but me, it
Yeah,
hits
you guys
different.
have
We do.
some things there.
Yeah.
Well, we should look at
We'll
his
do that.
name and her
Yeah, because
and
they are very synonymous in a lot of ways. And my son and I are a little bit more synonymous, but we have our own. It's very special still. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna say this. You don't
Tell
have
me.
much to worry about. You're on it. You're not gonna do it. Remember, I said you're not gonna do any harm.
Yeah.
You got it.
Don't you're gonna make me
You
cry, right?
you got this.
Yeah. And I mean, stepping into my power in a lot of ways and my job now and has always been, but to really hold space for my kids as this happens. Like I had to go through my shit to be as clear as possible, as grounded as much, which there still be unraveling, but now it's holding space for them and whatever that forever in this, but
It is forever. And it's just facing that it's gonna be sad. It's always gonna be sad and just, not trying to be like, "Oh, well, let's go out and get some ice cream," because as a therapist, you know that stuff. It's just like, "Yeah, let's hold this," but at the same time, it's not the end of the world. This is where your twos are really helpful because you can help people learn resilience.
yeah. Mm, I'm gonna remember that.
Yeah, because here's a great opportunity to learn resilience, to say, "Yep, things in life are hard and things fall apart, and this just channeled right through. We are a family, and no situation is ever going to change the fact that we're a family, and this is the biggest thing you say, I always have your back. This may feel like stuff, you may whatever it is, but I want you to know we are always a family, and that's never gonna change." Amen. And the little old woman too.
That's good. Yes. Well, on that note, Thank you for reading me.
We have 10 minutes
Yes,
left.
I know. But I think what people can hear is also the experience, number one, anything about the soul contract, but the way that you read and the way that you intuitively really like even you said like I'm imagining you being marble and like so sturdy.
Oh, yeah, that came through.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Yes, but your ability to have those downloads and say just right what you need to hear. And I just think that's very unique and special. So thank you for doing this work.
Mm. It is my pleasure. My
Yeah.
pleasure. Truly.
Mm.
My name is Amelia, which means ameliorate, to improve or make better.
Wow.
That's what I was made for.
Hmm.
That's what Merlin said. I was
Yeah.
made for. That's what I was made for.
Mhm. Amen to that. Mm. Thank you so much for coming on again. I love being in your energy and in your field. And thank you for the work that you're doing and your teaching. Can you tell everybody where to find you?
Mhm. My website and my business name is Essential How To.
Mm.
Essentialhowto.com is my website. That will show you where my readings are. Here's big information. I'm booked out really far, but here's the good news. Of course I am. There's no mistakes. Get a reading. Sign up for one because it's perfectly timed because something's going to happen between now and then that you're going to want to talk to me about. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely.
Don't worry about it. And if you need something in the meantime, I have these classes that I'm doing on a regular rolling basis where you can start looking at your soul contract and using it in a really good way. And I'm going to actually start some even more mini programs. So it's always good just to get on my email list, and you can do that at essentialhowto.com. Get on the email list. I will send you
Yes.
information. You can find me on
Perfect.
Instagram.
Hmm.
Find me on TikTok.
TikTok. You're killing it.
I'm killing it. I've got a reel that has almost 500,000 views
Oh
right now.
my gosh. Look at that.
Look at that.
Get it. And that's how we connected. So I'm very grateful for that TikTok.
I am too. I know that what is right for people is going to resonate for them. But I'm working with ascended masters. It's not me giving the information. It's like this. I say there's a triangle. Your ascended masters are up here. You're down here, right? And they're giving you downloads all the time. Hey, 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 hey. And sometimes the ego like makes the journey a little bit hard.
Yes.
So they go, Amelia, they're like, yes. And they give me the information that then comes across to you.
Oh, I love that.
So if you're feeling drawn, yeah, you're feeling drawn and you know it like you did. You're just like, I got to do this. So that's why I don't worry about advertising. I don't worry about broadcasting really loudly because I know if I'm just that lighthouse, that the people who need to see it will come and be a part of
Yes.
that.
Yes. And I did. So thank you.
No, thank you. And I love your podcast. I
Mhm.
love it because I've also said this is the work, this is the conference I want to do is bring people together like you are because I also have sevens.
Yes.
So that's another thing being on my email list. You'll see about some conferences where I bring someone like you on and then we can switch roles
Yes.
and I can interview you.
I love it. Yay. Thank you so much, Amelia.
Thank you, Jen. Blessings to you and everyone who's listening.
Thank you so much for listening to our show. If you are loving what you're hearing, go ahead and give us a 5-star review up on Apple Podcasts, and we'll see you next time.